This is the VoltBike Urban, compact folding electric bike with a nice concealed battery. Reminds me a lot of the Ejo Epic SE, and then I've also seen the Enzo bike. I think they probably all use a similar frame, usually manufactured in Asia, and they just sort of outfit it with different components. This one is decidedly cheap, like more affordable, that is. You can see the suspension fork, there's like no branding or anything. I measured this, it's like about an inch of travel. Quick release on the front, which is really nice. Fenders, again, the fender's a little bit more basic. The pedals are a little bit upgraded, and good decision making, I think, all across where they spent extra money and where they didn't. And one of the areas I like is safety. So you can see a reflective sidewall stripe on both of the little wheels. These are 20 inches by 1.95, so you get a little bit more cushion. They're not quite as narrow as some of the other folding electric bikes or kind of compact bikes with those smaller wheels. Makes it more compact when you fold the bike, but you also you feel it more when you're going over bumps and cracks or off curbs if you have to, that kind of thing. I just basically took it out of the box, got a little bit of help, and I might show that here. So the VoltBike Urban just arrived. This is what it looks like basically out of the box. There's the box right there. Pretty close to fully assembled. Had some nice styrofoam padding and then some bubble wrap, so I'm not seeing any damage on the frame or anything, and just kind of getting it put together, getting the pedals on, getting the stem all set up, and it should be ready to ride pretty shortly. Okay, so it's getting dark. I'm here at Myron's Extreme Machines with Sam. How's it going, buddy?
Hanging in there.
And, hopped on this thing. He's a bigger guy, so it was kind of fun to watch and just see that it holds up with a little bit of extra weight. It's all muscle, though, so the wrong way. And then the light. I just wanted to show the light in action at night. The front light is activated by the current button if you just click it, like once. And then if you hold current, it takes off. See, it's like walk mode. So thankfully, there are brake lever motor inhibitors. And the rear light, it's cool that it has two lights, but this one's just like straight up battery powered, totally separate. It's not wired in or anything. I love the rack. You got the fenders and everything, and these reflective sidewalls. You were riding earlier, and we could see the sunset like reflecting off of the. Isn't that nice? Look at this, beautiful. So thank you, Sam. Are you gonna hop on it? Oh, you got the careful. He's got the
probably in the
built-in handle.
High 40s, I'd say.
That's your guess. I'm gonna weigh it, and I'll have that back at the website with the specs and everything. I like the little suspension fork, but I mean, it's like less than an inch of travel. What did you think? I mean, you're compressing that pretty easily.
Actually, that's not bad. I've ridden other folding bikes that maybe have more travel, but they're way too soft and they just bottom. This actually feels a little bit stiffer than what I've experienced in the past, and that actually, in my opinion, is better.
Okay.
Having a little bit stiffer front fork with less travel versus a really soft front fork, especially with a bike that has as much power as this.
That's the thing, by the way. There are 5 levels of assist. You can override at any time with the trigger throttle. That's cool. Semi-ergonomic grips, basic stuff. Even the brake levers themselves, they're kind of like no-name levers. But when you arrow up to even level 1 assist, it felt really strong to me. It was pretty zippy. It was like, is there a lower level?
Well, most 350 watt 20 with
20-inch wheels, yeah.
They're overpowered and they're under geared in most cases, where you need a larger 52-tooth primary sprocket so you can keep cadence with the speed of the bike. I personally like this bike on level 1 pedal assist. Anything more than that, I'm like a hamster trying to keep up on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. This looks like more of a traditionally sized chainring. I haven't counted the teeth.
I do like the folding pedal here, though, where you pull this. Rather than push it in, you pull like this to pull your pedal.
Yeah, it's nice that that's metal too, and then some of them are like all plastic, and it feels a little bit like squishier. You don't get the stiffness.
Yeah. It's hard to get a good quality folding pedal.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of folding, that was one of the first things we noticed, is that this front lever, I guess, locking system is kind of different than what I've seen on other bikes. You can kind of crank down on this like piston rod thing here, and it just sort of closes the gap and it slides over that little cam. Is that what that's called? Yeah, you got.
Call it a cam.
And then there's this plastic thing that's like a backup. See, it locks that in. It just seems a little cheaper than some of the other systems I've seen. And I've noticed that the front of this bike was getting a little bit wobbly already. I might want to go back and
we'll tighten it up.
Just tighten it up a little bit. I mean, this is straight out of the box, basically. We just, got the pedals on. and turn the handlebars, and that's it. Like, this is straight out of the box. It's riding all right. Might need a little bit of a tune-up back here with the derailleur, you know, Tourney TX. That's the base model for Shimano, and it's got that big thumb shifter up here, 6 gears, you know. So yeah, I think I was riding it in like the higher gears.
Cord, I'm going to make mention, you're talking about a lot of times when you get a bike and you've purchased it online, you'll get it out of the box, and the gears aren't going to be perfect. They might be a little crunchy, and just by turning that little knob back there, sometimes you can get your gears a little bit, just turning this one direction or the other,
yeah,
you can kind of dial in that derailleur and index those gears a little better.
Okay.
And then you were mentioning the front end was a little loose. So after you've assembled your bike, go out and ride it, and if you feel things getting loose, come back in and go through it one more time and tighten everything up. That's a good on any electric bike.
Okay, thank you, Sam. That's right. You know, as someone who deals with bikes like all day long, and people bring in their bikes in need of some TLC
every day,
you can kind of like preventative maintenance probably goes a long way. I do like, you know, the color and stuff. This is very similar frame to what we've seen with like the Ejo folding bikes, and even some of the Enzo bike. They all seem to be using this like down tube battery style. You know, I guess it works pretty well.
We mentioned that Curry had the Urbana, was the first that we saw here in America with this frame style, but it was slightly thinner and smaller with a smaller amperage battery. But the same battery in this location, controller in this location. And I've seen a few different bikes with the same frame style, with just a different name on it, and maybe a few tweaks to make it their own.
Yeah, is there anything else that on this bike stands out as being kind of unique that makes it special?
The display panel is different than anything I've seen in the past. It's a little bit different. I mean, it's basically the same functions, but it's in a different format. But once you get the hang of it, I really prefer, I would almost call them the second generation of electric bikes. They're all pretty much coming with an LCD screen rather than an LED, like red dots from the past. Just 3 years ago, the majority of bikes had LEDs, and now you're seeing most, even like reasonably priced bikes with LCD. And that's nice because there's a lot more information, and you don't have to go out and buy a trip computer, speedometer separately. It's integrated into the bike, which is nice to get it from the manufacturer that way.
Yeah, and it enables you to have like the lights all tied in versus just like
I love it.
A separate button. And it's, I don't know, we have the power meter here. What else do we have? Speed, miles per hour, trip distance,
battery gauge,
5 levels of assist.
Yeah.
And there's even a throttle only mode on this, so you can completely turn off assist and just rely on a trigger throttle. What do you think about trigger versus twist throttle?
Ooh, that's a personal preference that a lot of people have to make on their own, depending on arthritis in your thumb or your hand. A twist throttle, it goes both ways. It really comes down to the individual. But I prefer it on the right-hand side, and I prefer to push down. Being a motorcyclist, that's just more intuitive for me to do that.
Jet skis are that way, snowmobiles are that way. I mean, in America, that's how it's done. It's always on the right, man.
Well, I don't know about my Triumph. It had a shift lever on the left. And
snap. We've got so many motorcycles. What did you think about the brakes on this? Because
they're awesome.
These things are pretty big. I wanted to see like the marking. I guess it's 160.
They're mechanical disc brakes, not hydraulic, but they're very impressive. And I think, even though you mentioned these are very generic levers, they're long and big, and you can really apply a lot of pressure if you've got your brakes adjusted correctly. There's few electric bikes that I can get on and lock up the rear tire and slide the back in. And I was able to actually do that on this bike.
We did that. He did that a minute ago. I was like, don't break it, Sam. I haven't reviewed it yet.
That feels really good when you're on a bike and you have that kind of stopping power. It's very impressive.
That's cool. Oh, and I like this. You see there's like the little cable management thing. They've got these now where you can like click it right onto the stem,
the T-handle.
And these are color coded, it looks like. So if you did need to do some replacement.
And the cool thing from someone that works on electric bikes, when you have something like this, instead of having to go all the way down through your wiring harness, if you want to change your throttle or your display panel, it's from here to here, disconnect, replace, much easier than having to go all the way through like a few years ago where you'd have wiring harnesses that would go from one end all the way down to the other end. To where the controller connects it. No bueno.
The other thing I liked is that the stem actually goes pretty high. And so being, I'm like 5'9", so I'm like average size, I guess. And being able to raise the stem and feel like, okay, it's pretty long. This wasn't like super narrow. Even the seat post is huge. There's like 2 marking points. One for like, don't go any lower than this because it actually sticks out on the bottom and you don't want to hit a curb. Whoa, see, look at how low that goes. Like you could hit something if you were like low riding with this. But that gives you plenty of room. Look at how tall that goes. It's pretty awesome, pretty substantial.
One other thing I want to make I
just wanted to figure out how it says 33.9 millimeter. I mean, that's thick.
That's a big one. That's one on the large side. Another thing is, it's very precision. A lot of C posts, you're wiggling them and you're getting like these little cross, burrs in there, whereas this slides in and out very nice. Very, very cleanly.
Nice collar.
Yeah, and that's unusual on most bikes. They're even on higher end quality bikes, sometimes they're a little bit stiff getting in and out there. And as long as the clamps, and it's a nice size clamp here too, if you'll notice. It's much larger diameter than your average C-clamp, and the lever, you're not like fighting it trying to open it or close it. You've got plenty of leverage with it as well.
Would you help me unfold it real quick, Sam? We haven't done that yet, and I'm just kind of curious. So
that's standard,
pretty
same
standard,
as like any of the other ones. Okay. And then my technique on folding a bike, especially when they're new and they're a little bit tight.
Yeah.
If you put your knee right at the point where it folds, sometimes it's easier to like break it loose, like I'm doing right there.
Nice.
And you can see I'm using my knee or my shin, my leg, depending on how tall you are, as leverage and pushing the bike like that.
Okay.
It's better control as well.
And it looks like, so we had the keys just dangling right here. Maybe we can slip those off real quick and pull the battery out, but that's where it stows, right there. And you can charge it on the bike. There's a little hole in the bottom, little plug that came out, and I really couldn't get it back in. And then there's a key locking point. So that's the bolt. While we're down here, I think it's kind of cool that you've also got a chain guard. So this thing is really, I call it like feature complete, because you've got front and rear lights. Even though the rear light isn't wired in, it's still there. Quick release on the front wheel. I didn't notice that at first. I think just down here there's
should be 2 holes.
It's like, there it is. Okay, so we've done that.
Remove your key first.
Do you have to remove the key?
Yeah.
Oh, because look at that. It's like sliding. Good job, Sam. Don't want to bend the. That's why you're the expert. Okay. 36 volt, 10 amp hours. Haven't weighed this thing. I don't know what the cells are like inside, but it's not too heavy. That lightens the bike up some, so you could take this thing stow it more easily and not hurt your back if you're lifting it. That's cool. Thank you so much for helping, Sam.
Anytime, man.
Yeah, and again, this is Sam's shop right here. Byron's Extreme Machines Electric Bicycle Center, and they've just got so many different bikes. It's awesome to be able to sort of look at something like this and take the battery out and then come in here and compare it to like all these other bikes on the showroom floor. And like, here's the Ejo Epic SC that we were talking about earlier. Very similar, also has a large number of Cadence Sensor dots there, the little magnetic things. This one has a magnetic clasp front and rear. Of course, it costs a little bit more, but it's something that you could test ride and get it in a whole wide variety of colors. So
it's a nice size tire on there too, for a folding bike.
Oh yeah, a little bit more.
Some of them go anywhere from like 1.5 to 1 3/4. When you get a tire that's almost 2 inches wide, for some people, if you're camping on a folding small bike, they're a little intimidated, and they're asking a lot of times when they come in, can I take the tires off the front of the Ejo Epic SE and put a thicker tire on it? And I'm absolutely, depending on the fenders and the relationship as to how it fits.
Yeah,
you can definitely go up to a larger size tire.
That's
width-wise.
It's a great point. Like, we were talking about safety, the fact that it has lights, but then also the reflective sidewall, and then the dimensions on the tire. I'm not seeing them.
I would say that's about a 195.
195?
Yes. Here, let me bring it up for you. You might be able to see it up here in the light a little better.
Yeah, that helps.
Kind of like.
Oh yeah, you got it, buddy. 20 by 1.95. Yeah, oh.
It's a good size, actually.
Yeah. We were talking about the Epics earlier. Are they a little bit narrower?
Yes, they are. After you walk in here, you can see they are. And this is the new 2016 Epic with a larger battery. But look at how thin the tire is in relationship to the other one.
Does that make it lighter? I mean, just more efficient? Why would they go?
Yeah. If you go with a thinner tire, it's going to be less resistance, and you're going to be able to probably go a further distance. So it's a trade-off. Are you going to be riding your bike primarily? See, what are you using your folding bike for? A lot of people getting a folding bike are perhaps a camper, and you're going to be in dirt.
Yeah.
You might want to go with a little bit thicker tire, have a little bit more. If you look at the A2B Kuo Plus, you'll notice again a 1.95 tire.
And no suspension though, right? This one, at least it's narrower, but then you've got some suspension. That looks like a little bit more travel than
Yeah, it does. And then remember how we were showing you outside how much stiffer that one was? Look at how soft this one is. It just like bottoms really quickly.
I'm a lighter guy though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I weigh like, 130.
Very good point. It depends on body type. For me, I like a little bit stiffer commit because I'm a heavier guy.
Yeah.
Nothing
wrong with that, Sam.
Well, you know, we all are different in our own ways.
I like this. That also has the bell. This one has the grip shifter versus the big. So, you know, again, it's a matter of preference, and it's kind of cool that you've got so many different choices in here. So it's been, I don't know, really sort of like thought-provoking and enlightening to see the different models.
We're always bringing in the new product and trying it out, and when stuff looks and feels, and if the company is supportive, then we always stand behind what we sell, but we have to be careful of what we sell. So we handpick everything that we sell. And I mean, we're carrying over 20 different brands now in the shop.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of different companies you have to deal with.
It really is. Like, look at all this. And, you know, full disclosure, so VoltBike sent this because they wanted me to review it. I'm not keeping this or anything. I'm not getting paid to do it. They just said, hey, check our bike out. And Sam was generous enough to kind of tune it up with help from Kanika, his wife. And they, you know, always really supportive. So it's kind of neat. It's neat to get to see and kind of compare what's out there. So maybe I'll hop on and do a little bit more riding and show the motor real quick here. I'm just going to go on that first bar because it is so zippy. Yeah, so that's interesting. You know, it zips me quickly, but then it limits my top speed in that first level of assist. So if I take it up to 5 now, this is where we're going to get the 20 miles per hour. A little bit of delay going on, but not too bad. The fenders in action. Gotta love that. Looks like we dropped our chain there. A little tricky to get it straight again with the shield on there, the chain guard. So you can clearly hear that delay for pedal assist switching on and off, but you do have those brake lever motor inhibitors, which are pretty handy. You can basically kill the motor anytime. You can even pedal with them engaged like I am now, and the motor won't start. And then when you let go of them, it kicks right in. And the front ring is big enough that in the highest gear, in 6th gear, I can easily pedal at 20 miles per hour. It's not outpacing me too much. We're about 19 right now. So I've been able to reflect on these a little bit more after having done all the ride tests and brought them back into the shop. And you can see, you know, there's the VoltBike Urban. This is the more affordable one versus the Ejo Epic. I've reviewed, you know, several iterations of this bike, and it's one that I see more in shops in the United States. So, you know, when you compare the two, price is something that really stands out. The VoltBike Urban is like $400, maybe $500 less expensive, depending on whether you're factoring in shipping and you take into consideration tuning it up yourself and stuff. And we talked about, you know, there's the quick adjust down here, but bikes eventually, you know, need to tune up and, you know, oil the chain and that kind of thing. Maybe you're handy, maybe you're not. I guess, you know, at first glance, it's like, oh, it has the same frame, but really, this one has sort of a longer, sweeping, single tube design. Kind of carries the color back there and a little bit thicker. Even down here, you can see the seat tube's longer, and then there's that support strut. So when you fold it, it's going to protect the chain. I noticed that this one has a chain guide. They've opted to, you know, you can see the plastic on both sides of the chain, and that would probably help reduce those drops like I experienced on the Urban. And then when I was trying to get the chain on again, it was kind of reaching around this cover, and it was a little bit of extra effort. Also, this is a 6-speed, versus a 7-speed. So when you compare the drivetrains, not only does this have a larger front chainring, which is going to help to balance out those smaller wheels and give you more natural cadence, but you've got an extra gear. So maybe it's easier to hit that higher top speed or climb that hill. A lot of the components, they look the same. So this is Tourney TX, so is this, but this one has one fewer gears and it just looks a little bit cheaper to me. I'm not sure what the trim levels are. This might be an older version of the Tourney TX. And then if we come over to the other side, they both have 160 millimeter brakes, but they look a little bit nicer on the Ejo. And then you can actually see a magnetic clasp, and that's the other thing. So when you fold this bike, it might stay folded a little bit easier. It might not rattle as much. Some of the electric folding bikes have rubber band type of setups or cords or something. It's just nice to have some kind of system in place to keep it folded so it's not, coming loose on you when you're loading it into your boat or your personal private plane or an RV. So that's something I usually keep in mind. And then just back on the folding point, this latch was just kind of unique to me. I hadn't seen it before, and there's a little flathead screwdriver adjustment up top. We were tightening it down, but it felt a little bit more sloppy to me. Still fine. And again, you get the high-rise bars, a fairly long seat post, so you can extend that. But you'll see that the base of the tube is a little bit lower than this one. The tube, I guess the post itself is narrow on the Ejo, but there's a longer tube to add support, and then a nicer saddle with a handle back here. One area where I was impressed with the VoltBike, though, is that it has this nice backlit LCD display panel versus a more standard LED console that you see on a lot of folding bikes. This is cheaper, gets the job done, but you don't see how fast you're going, how far you've gone. Some of those nice cycle computer features that we've got over here. Both of them have bells and everything. This one has the kind of a Revo grip shift, which is maybe some people's preference. I don't mind the trigger shifters. This is a much more basic interface, though. It's nice that the buttons are so large, because if you're wearing gloves, that's going to be easy to use. But maybe it's that preference again. Trigger throttle, and this time it has to be on the left versus on the right, because this one uses trigger shifters. There's little trade-offs like that, and then the low-rise handlebars maybe a little bit wider, a little bit more upright. Sometimes these things come down to personal preference, and we were talking about the suspension forks earlier. This actually felt pretty comfortable to me, but it's just very, very little travel versus over here. We can see it's a more name brand suspension fork with longer travel, and that might add a little bit of weight, but it's also going to give you maybe more comfort. We were talking about the tires on this one being a little bit fatter, and so that sort of complements the suspension fork versus narrower tires that might ride more efficiently but aren't going to give you quite as much vibration dampening and cushion. I also noticed that the fenders on this one had mud flaps on them, and they go down a little bit further, so it might protect your shins and your feet when you're riding. These are pretty basic fenders. Still have struts. They're fine, but it just doesn't come down quite as far. So little things like that. I've really been scrutinizing the two bikes. I also noticed that this one has a cadence sensor, but that the magnets are more pronounced right there. So that might be part of what makes it feel a little bit more responsive starting and stopping, because the VoltBike did lag a little bit, and none of these are perfect. This isn't a super advanced cadence sensor, something like you'd see on a Bosch electric bike with a mid-drive, or Yamaha or something like that. You're still like $1,500, $1,100 range on these, but it's great for a folding bike, one that the battery comes out, you can charge it on or off the bike. There's a lot of similarities, and it might just come back down to color choice, something like that. The VoltBike comes in standard black and white, gets the job done. Ejo and some others come in a bunch of different colors, and I think the Enzo bike has the magnesium rims, and it's got stainless hardware all the way through, so it's really designed for boating and that kind of thing. And that one's like $1,700. So it's really a lot of choices. I hope this helps you out for sure. And for the full write-up on this and comments and some pictures and other feedback, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. If you've got one of these bikes, you have some feedback to add, just go for it. Leave a comment, and of course, ride safe.